Our last class member before we get our headliner up here to do a little teaser set for you and then go to open mic night. Here we go. Welcome, Mitch Maley, ladies and gentlemen. Mitch Maley.
All right. My name is Mitch. I'm 44 years old, thrice divorced, and flat broke. Now look at, I can tell you that does not make for a successful online dating profile. A friend of mine did manage to set me up on a date recently. A woman who had lowered her bar quite a bit. His chief selling points were at least he doesn't live with his mother and he doesn't have herpes. Can you imagine that girl's disappointment when I had to inform her that one of those are no longer true? We just got back to my one-bedroom apartment with no sign of mom, so it wasn't hard to guess which one. My last marriage was a disaster. I remember the night it ended. You don't remember all the fights, but you remember the grand finale? I'd been drinking all night at this bar around the street from our apartment, and I got home and I could just feel the tension was in the room. I have since learned that when you come upon a woman with an empty bottle of Chardonnay, wearing sweatpants, eating cookie dough ice cream right from the carton, what's wrong is a question you don't ask. She started in something about me not being a good listener, wasn't really paying close attention. But before long, she starts going upside my head with one of those slotted spoons. And those things catch wind each time, so I mean, you get a good racking. I'm on the floor in the fetal position. She picks up the phone, starts telling me she is going to call the cops on me. 20 minutes later, I'm explaining myself to a rather attractive young female deputy who informs us that by county statute, when there's a domestic call initiated by one of the spouses, an arrest is required. I took one look at my wife's face, raised my hand, and volunteered. Partly to get out of the house for the night, but partly because I had this newly developed fantasy about that female deputy using her handcuffs on me. And she slapped them on good, too, which my dumb drunk ass mistook for some sort of like aggressive flirtation. She got to the part about anything you say can and will be held against you. I blurted out, titties! Now she must have thought I said taser, because she gave me all 500 volts. That will take the tequila buzz right off. It's too late to arraign me that night, so I got to be a guest of the county. Released me in the morning, and I took an Uber back home. Now, one thing I did like about this ex-wife was she was really big on makeup sex, all right? Bigger the fight, steamier the lovemaking that followed. Now, I don't know how many of all have ever spent the night in a holding cell. Anyone? You? I thought I recognized it, no? All right. Well, I hadn't brushed my teeth, let alone showered, right? I was still wearing the clothes from the day before, but I walked in that door, she sprung up, took off her robe, nothing underneath it, and she said, "Make me feel like a woman." I took off my pants, I put them on the ironing board, and I said, "Put a crease in them." Let that spoon again. Most recently, I dated a feminist. It did not work out, but I learned a lot. Now, she had big, big, beautiful breasts. How many guys out there are breast men? Come on. All right. Yeah, come on, there has to be more breast men than that, right? Now I'm a motorboater. You guys know what a motorboater is? That's when you aim right for the cleavage and you just... Right? If you're a butt man, you could do it too. It's called booty boating. You just turn her around, right? And you aim for that spot right below where the thong stops, and you can even use that for leverage, and you get in there. Try that when you get home, you like it. But anyway, I complimented on her because her breasts were perfect for motorboating because they were big and full, but they were pert and firm and they didn't go all over the place. Instead of thanking me, she explains to me that they're breast implants, which she had only got because we live in a male-dominated society that perpetuates a standard of beauty for women that's impossible to aspire toward naturally. I felt so bad, I almost stopped motorboating. Now, she pointed out to me when I'd see different things like magazine models and commercial models and stuff, and she'd point out how they're all nipped and tucked and tanned and augmented. And I started thinking she had a point. You know, maybe we do that. Then I noticed she had one of those sexy fireman calendars. You guys ever see these? The guys are all chiseled and sculpted and muscular. They've got a washboard abdomen so defined they can wash their own clothes on it. How are we supposed to compete with men who come factory equipped to wash their own dirty underwear? Now, I pointed this out to her, and she said, well, that doesn't really matter, because women, we could look at it more like art. It doesn't have to be sexual. And we don't project that onto our partners as expectations. She said, attraction has to do with a lot of things, and that's why you'll see beautiful women, they're not always with beautiful guys. And I started thinking about that, and it was true. I see a lot of gorgeous women with, short, portly, bald men, but they always have these things in common. I call them the 3 Bs. Bucks, Bentleys, and beach houses. I'm still waiting for the day that I see a perfect 10 model, and she's with a guy who looks like George Costanza, but he's stocking shelves at Costco and driving a Corolla. All right, that's my time. You guys have been great.
Mitch Bailey.